Welcome to the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I want you to do me a big favor before you check out this clip. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to throw in a comment and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. And then I want you to share this video with your friends. Help us defeat the algorithm. And then if you like this content and you appreciate this content, please head over to patreon.com/The Mike and JD Show and support the show. That is how we actually get funded to be able to do this. So we thank you very much for being here. And now enjoy the clip.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made, no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made, no rain from the track.
So, man, so speaking of AEW, so Lucha Libre, CMLL is invaded AEW, and we're covering here. They're actually going to send over the BCC to CMLL on March 28th. They're selling tickets, are already selling like hotcakes. It's actually going to be the biggest sellout, like I think on record for Arena Mexico. Like a sellout ahead of time. Essentially, in Mexico, it's very walk-up heavy. Like people just show up to the arena and buy their tickets, but people are buying their tickets early for this one, and that's not really normal. And it's because of this big match they got coming up. But Dave had an interesting note here, and I love the fact that Americans are learning about Lucha Libre politics. So AEW has entered into the Lucha Libre politics game. So it says, Dave says, as noted before, the deal with CMLL is that on any television show that their talent appears on, no other Mexican wrestlers can appear. It doesn't matter if they work for AAA or not. It did in the past, but it's no other Mexican wrestlers can appear. Some of the prior Mexican talent is mad that Tony Khan agreed to those terms, noting that AAA never made a demand like that for AEW to not feature CMLL talent, even though they were warring in Mexico. We do know that at the start that Tony Khan's vision was to work with everyone in the early days. CMLL didn't allow its talent to go there because they were working with AAA, and New Japan didn't work with them under the Harold Meij regime. It was noted that Penta and Phoenix were in AEW from day one in particular, and the feeling it's disrespectful to them. So that line was essentially written by Conan, emailed to Dave, and Dave copied and pasted it into the Observer. So where was I? It said it was disrespectful to them that there would be shows, including perhaps multiple pay-per-views this year, including any pay-per-view from anyone from CMLL is booked on. They couldn't even be allowed on the show. Previously, it was just Forbidden Door. There was an incident with Penta coming off the Jericho Cruise where he stayed for Dynamite as he was under the belief that he was booked on and was there, only to find out that he couldn't appear on the show because they had booked CMLL guys for both Rampage and Dynamite. Dude, this Lucha Libre war between CMLL and AAA is hilarious.
It's funnier than AEW versus WWE. It really is. I think I want to credit the right Twitter account. I think it was Lucha Blog that tweeted out today. So that every 2 months, AEW fans or American fans get to find out that CMLL and AAA do not like each other. Like there's so much bad blood there.
Yeah, I didn't realize the extent of it. You know, the funny thing is that there's been some shows recently that had CMLL talent on there, and like other Mexican wrestlers were there, like Commander would wrestle on the shows. Yeah. But it seems like that as AEW and CMLL kind of cement their partnership, AEW kind of bends more to their will a little bit, and it's like does not want to disrespect them. And the fact that that's disrespectful is just bonkers to me. But yeah, here Josiah in the chat says Conan trying to stir stuff up with CMLL. Yeah, Conan actually took to Twitter and said that that it's awful when politics gets in the way of wrestling or something like that. And he probably just got done sending the email to Dave. And Josiah says the story changed as Commander worked to show a CMLL talent on it. My theory is that it was Conan. Yeah. So it would be interesting to see if Commander or Penta or Phoenix anytime soon wrestles on a show with CMLL talent. But what I've been saying is I think that Penta and Phoenix are probably going to try to leave AAA and go to CMLL. And I think Phoenix is already a free agent in Mexico. I don't think he's on a contract to AAA anymore, so he's no longer a AAA guy. But I don't think it's that far fetched. I know a lot of people shit on me like last week or the week before when I said that Roosh would probably go back to CMLL. I think if his AEW paycheck, like if it helps his paycheck, right, and helps the relationship, I think they could probably come together to work a deal to where Roosh could actually return to CMLL. I don't think that's too crazy.
And I think that's probably what Conan is afraid of, right? That you have your AAA guys working with AEW, and the owner of AEW is getting a good working relationship with your biggest rival in CMLL. And if you're a Mexican wrestling talent who works for AAA and your contract comes up, does it serve you better in AEW to work with AAA or CMLL? Like, who is Tony going to view you more favorably working for if it's going to be the company that he has the better working relationship with? So I could see Conan being upset about that.
Yeah. But he knows the deal here. He clearly sees that AAA is getting pushed out here.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, AAA was it hard to kill. Antonio Pena was a hard to kill and signed a fake agreement with TNA. We have not seen any AAA talent since then, actually.
Yeah.
In TNA. Well, Vikingo was on the tapings after that, but since like they went to Orlando or Kissimmee, Florida, like no, there were no AAA talents on that show except for Laredo Kid, who happens to just work for TNA. He's like more of a TNA guy at this point. He's on every show. So, yeah, let's see. Oh, Josiah's back. He says, for AEW, the CMLL deal is definitely better. They're less of a mess backstage. It wasn't that long ago that they were a pretty big mess too. That during the pandemic damn near killed CMLL dead, but they're rising up, man. So good for them. But
you may have to correct me if I'm wrong, but they were fairly interested in selling to WWE, right? And the holding point was WWE didn't want to buy Arena Mexico. Is that true?
I think I vaguely remember that story. Oh, but hold on. Josiah is talking crap. Hold on. It's my Canadian. Mike, if Antonio Pena was there, that'd be remarkable, as they would have to dig him up. Who was it? Oh, it was Dorian Roldan. Look, that's how old I am. I'm talking about the original guy, Antonio Pena. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Vince McMahon Sr. was there. Okay. Yeah. My bad. Oh man. Back. It's been a long time since we've done this, but it is now time for bad tweets. Bad tweets is back. So this bad tweet comes from Gerard from bodyslam.net at beardown316, and you can tag him in this bad tweet. He said, because he and I had this whole discussion. We had a whole debate the other day, and I told him this was coming, and I said, my friends are eligible for bad tweets too. So he says, I have to go back to it. Tony Khan accusing Rossi of being a double agent and then hiring Rocky Romero to do the same thing is certainly a choice. That's a bad tweet because that didn't happen. He hired Rocky Romero, and I've explained this to Gerard, so we're all like fine now. And I think I'm a bad influence on people. I'm a bad influence on Gerard, especially when I get on my conspiracy kicks. Yeah. Like I think he was getting like a conspiracy brain a little bit on that deal, thinking that Tony Khan brought Rocky Romero in to poach talent from New Japan and from CMLL, when in fact he's there to he's going to be doing the same job for AEW that he currently does for New Japan. He's going to be doing it for both companies, so he didn't actually take anybody. Yeah. If anything, he would be a guy that could help bridge the gap between CMLL and New Japan, which I think that's part of his deal, is to be the liaison. He's going to be that guy to prevent these people from going over to WWE. Now, he did think that was a bad thing. It's like, well, you're hindering them from making the most money. I was like, no, he's not their agent, right? He would just be like, hey, come over here instead of going over there. But if they have an agent and WWE offers them more money, then they would go. Nobody's going to stop them. Yeah. But he would be a guy to help prevent like an Okada from going to WWE. But I don't think Tony Khan is going to be targeting Yota Tsuji or Shota Umino in the next year or two to offer them, 7-figure contracts. And that Rocky is the reason why that's happening. I just don't see that being the case.
No, but Zack Sabre Jr. on the other hand, whose contract does come up next year, probably.
Yeah, but that's not a poach. Like their contract expires, right? And and Zack Sabre Jr. has been in New Japan for almost a decade. I think he's been there since 2016, right? And so,
Probably
like
longer than that.
yeah, he's not going to stay there forever. And so, if you have a guy that is connected with New Japan, and New Japan would rather their guy go to AEW versus WWE, then I think that's a good thing. I don't see this as a bad thing. Now, I will say every guy that AEW has signed off the New Japan roster has not gone back to AEW or New Japan.
Yeah.
Jay White has not wrestled a single match in New Japan other than at Forbidden Door since he left, right? And it's been the case for all the other talents that they brought back. Now, Takeshita has gone back to DDT at times, but the New Japan guy, like Aussie Open, they haven't gone back. So maybe I think that's worth looking into. All right, where New Japan is, they want to send their people to AEW versus WWE so they get access to them later. Well, that just has not been the case. Like it just hasn't happened other than at Forbidden Door.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this specifically earlier. For those New Japan guys and really all of AEW talent, you do have the access to do a lot of stuff outside of AEW. Why would you want to? If you're getting paid full-time money and you don't have to work full-time, why would you risk going back to New Japan and potentially getting hurt and losing your spot in AEW? Why would you risk going to an indie show and risk getting hurt over something?
Well, so the older guys, they like keeping more matches is better for them in their opinion, right? These young kids that are their private party and some of these other little shits, they don't work anywhere because they're lazy, right? Yeah. Like all these other guys that are like Sky Blue works everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But all these other like younger cats, they're just coasting in AEW and they're not improving. They should be working everywhere.
Are they lazy or are they getting paid full-time money for part-time work? If you had the choice between the two, what would you do?
But I'm lazy. I would do it. Yeah. So but you know what? But here's the thing: is they're not getting any better.
Yeah.
They're just not. They're not like Hook is not better today than he was a year ago. He just isn't.
But he does work for a company that has at this point between Ring of Honor and AEW 11 hours of weekly TV.
And
use them. Get better. Use them.
Yeah.
It's not always. It takes both. It takes the wrestler and the booker. Use the people you have on your roster.
Yeah.
And if they're not good, if they're not improving, go ahead and kick Big Swole out the door because she's not a good wrestler. Go ahead and kick other people out the door if they're not improving. I mean, use them or lose them.
Hold on, we got some smart asses in the chat always correcting me. Let's see. King of the North said Jay White lost a match where he can't go back. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he lost a match and he can't go back unless Eddie Kingston says yes. And who has control over Eddie Kingston saying yes? Not Eddie Kingston.
Josiah says, as for Aussie Open, Mark Davis is injured. Yeah, but Kyle Fletcher is not hurt. He could go back. But yeah, AEW talents are appearing on New Japan shows. Well, of course they are. How do you look? New Japan is selling all them tickets because they put Moxley and Kingston on top. They're not selling those tickets because they got fucking Naito on top. You take Moxley out of there, they're not selling all them tickets. It's just not happening.
Yeah, Moxley, and especially more lately, it seems like is making it a point to go back to New Japan. Danielson loves doing the big shows over there. I wish Claudio would get to do more. I would love to see Claudio in the G1 this year. I really would.
Yeah. Let's see. And then so King of the North says also to note, New Japan World has the TV distribution rights in Japan for AEW. Yeah, that's true. So